You can please come to the stage and please give her a very warm welcome.
Good evening, ladies. Good evening, Dr. Chambers. Where are you? Good evening, Dr. Chambers. It's an honor and a privilege to share the stage with you tonight. What an amazing woman. Just reading one paragraph from you just gives us a glimpse of all the accomplishments you've had, and we're looking forward to hearing more about these achievements. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. To CMB, to Javier, thank you for inviting me, although it was this afternoon. But I appreciate it anyway. We're very flexible, aren't we? Women usually are, yes. So in the 1 hour, I think in 10 minutes that I had to prepare, I decided to pull a few things from a very recent presentation that we had that was connected to Women's Day, International Women's Day. And some of you, I see lots of familiar faces that were probably with us. It's not a repeat of that, but some of the statistics and some of the points that were made during the conference, and really it's more food for thought, I think, for discussion perhaps later. And I want to acknowledge also the wonderful work that CMB is doing, and they were one of the sponsors of the Women's Day. So I'm so happy to see that, Javier, you're still loving women. This is wonderful. Thank you. Because, of course, this is a very worthwhile investment to make for our community. So, well done. I'll get right into it. And I don't have a laptop. This is also something that happens when you don't prepare a lot in advance, is that we don't have those tools. So I might have to look around. Strong women, strong leadership, strong world. That was the theme of our conference, which is in line with also a conference that was done around International Women's Day in Canada. And if we look at some of the statistics, what does it tell us? Well, on the educational front, women are doing really, really well in Aruba. This is from Census 2010, and there you see, I'm not sure yet, the comparison between female, male in the first two graphs of primary, secondary, and then when you see the tertiary, you see that actually females are achieving a little bit more in this area. If we look at labor participation, so of course the education part is necessary, and then what happens afterwards? Well, we see not quite the same kind of statistic. You see that it is growing, but that in 2010 we had about a 60.5% labor participation for women. The good news is, of course, it has significantly grown over the many years that this chart is. But of course, there's still lots of room to improve in there. If you look at the number of areas and all the different areas of the types of labor that we have, you know, this is very small, you probably can't see it. But basically it tells you that women are in all the different areas, but where you see the big bars is usually concentrated on lower paying areas, lower paying jobs, which is mostly centered around hotel sectors, retail. So we also have a job to do, not just in getting women into the labor force, but also into, of course, higher paying jobs, higher skilled jobs, because we're getting the education. You see that we're getting the tertiary education. Now we need to make sure that women are filling these roles that, of course, would bring in more income for them. If we calculate in 2013 what women, so all of the labor that was associated with women's labor participation, what did that total? Well, it's 2 billion florin just in 2013, which represents 44% of the total GDP. So we are making our contribution. Of course, imagine our GDP without this contribution. Now let's look at unpaid work for a second. So all the things that are not paid, childcare. I keep looking for a check to see who's willing to pay for that. Care and assistance for seniors. That could be somebody that is part of your family or somebody in the neighborhood, but care and assistance for seniors. Housework, so labor around your home. And volunteer for not-for-profit. So all of these that would fall into the category of unpaid. This is a snapshot of all the different not-for-profit organizations that were started by women. This is just some of them, it's not all of them, but just to give you a glimpse of how many foundations, NGOs have been prompted by women, and women are carrying those. If we look at the estimated value, so we looked at, well, those hours that women are spending in this unpaid area, what would that cost us if we actually were to pay for that? And it comes to a sum total of about 204 million florin a year, which is accounting for 60 to 70% of all unpaid work. So here's where women are making a huge contribution, albeit though without pay. All to say that we have made lots of inroad, lots of progress. Women are successful in Aruba, there's no doubt about it. But we do face challenges like every other country, and some of them are the same, some of them might be unique to Aruba. Some of them that I've just mentioned here, and of course this is not an extensive list by any stretch of the imagination, but domestic violence, of course, addiction, discrimination, and that may be in the workforce, but it also may be immigration, so women that have come here that are being discriminated because they are from a different country. Financial instability, a lot of women that are in financial trouble that have sought help. If you look at the total, the majority are female. Unplanned pregnancies, psychological inhibitors, and finally, familial demands. So again, this multiple role that women play a lot of times, raising children, being sort of the biggest source of support for their family, but also for other families and other children. So these multiple roles also has a burden, and we carry oftentimes a big burden on our shoulders. And in terms of politics, I would say this is also a very big challenge. If we look at how Aruba is compared to other countries, we're not doing well in this side. We are the very first here where you can compare us to Sweden, the Netherlands, USA, Barbados. I think Belize is not supplying any of their numbers. But there you see we're very low. We have very low political participation. And it's been very stable throughout the last 25 years. It hasn't grown. Another one that is one that seems to be attached to our culture somewhat. We do share some similarities with other Latin American countries, which is still a macho culture, and also a very sexualized culture. And so this is a picture that was taken, I clipped it out of the newspaper a few years ago, and it's in the happy birthday section where families send in pictures of their children when they have a birthday or a loved one. And this is a girl that is celebrating her 6th birthday. And she's posing in a bikini in a very provocative way. And this is something that is accepted in our culture. This is part of our culture because it doesn't create shockwaves. So this is still a challenge for us as women. There's a book by Maddie Dickwald. It's called influence, and it is about women's influence in the world tied to economic power and economic independence. And the theory is quite simple. It is that these are the three hierarchies of survival. First, we have to meet our needs, so food and shelter and all the things that are very basic. The next is independence, where you are free from daily worries about food and shelter, and we can rely on ourselves pretty much to be able to supply these things. And the third is influence, which is where we've gained enough economic power to be able to influence our community and our world. And so the theory is really that more successful women that apply this in their communities are able to rise to a lot of challenges that we face. And so this turning economic power into influence to solve some of our biggest problems. In other words, the success leading to others' success is really a theory that I would argue holds true. And we see it every day. We see lots of women in Aruba, in other countries, really not just reaping the rewards of their own success, but applying that success to try and get other women also as successful. So I leave you with a snapshot of some of these powerful and positive female images. Thank you very much.